Okay, here we go. Okay. All right, here we go. Oi, VODs! Oh no, my armor doesn't fit right. Now what? So I've been getting a lot of questions from folks about scaling, how to scale my armor. And so I'm going to show you some tricks and the things that I do to make scaling armor easy. And I'm going to just make sure that we're actually live, because this whole YouTube thing is kind of new. I'm not seeing anything in the chat. Usually the chat is rocking at this point.
There's a 30-second delay, sweetie.
Yes, I know. I wonder if I can pop this out. Let's see. Oh, shit. I just realized. Wait a second. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on to your biscuits. All right. We are back. Nice. All right, bots. I'm back. This is HK7335, and I am here to help you make epic Mandalorian cosplay with ease. And yeah, so I've been getting a lot of questions about scaling. So how do you scale something? I constantly am recommending this amazing program here called ArmorSmith. When I bought it, it was about $30. I don't know if the price has gone up. I mean, everything else has, so I don't know why this wouldn't. But it's still probably well worth whatever money you're planning on that you can spend on it. The guy is really cool about the pricing, so I'm going to see if I can pop the chat out so we can see this. Yes, pop it out. There we go. That's going to be better. All right. That's going to be a little easier for me to read. So anyway, here we are. And what is this? Well, no, it's right. Thank you, YouTube. Okay, so ArmorSmith. Let's talk about it. So this program, you install it. It has a regular update utility where you can just, check for updates under Help. It's got a regular, file, cool things in the top. So when you first open it up, you're going to see this. This guy here is called an avatar. And as you can see, you can use your mouse to select all these different parts of the body, and you can size them. What's cool is that you actually get dimensions for these different pieces, but you can do things to them. Like if I wanted to, well, I don't want to move these, but if I wanted to scale them up, now you can't really do that here. So if you wanted to modify your avatar, let's say you've created an avatar for yourself and you wanted to tweak it a little bit. Well, you would go down here into this panel on the right, and if you go under, you have ways of setting all the colors for all the different things you're selecting. So you can custom color your avatar. But if you scroll down through here, let me see if I can get this to work right. You've got all your measurements, okay? So right now we've got something selected, so it's only going to show me the details for that part. But if you just click in the background here and unselect it, then it will give you the full stats for your avatar, and you can see what the sizes are. So see, we've got the head. The head height is 9.32 inches. So obviously this guy is a totally generic, representation of a non-gender specific human form. Okay, it's neither male nor female. It is basically neutral. Okay, so let's say you want to create an avatar that fits you. This is how you do it. If you go up to Avatar here in the left, and you go to Create New Avatar, you say OK. Are you sure you want to reset your avatar's measurements? Say OK. This brings up the avatar creation panel. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to input your measurements, and it wants some very specific ones. So your first is going to be your measurement, and you can determine if you want to do it in centimeters or if you want to do it in inches. here in America, everybody's still stuck in the imperial measurement system, so that's probably what most people are going to go for. But if you're in Europe, you can use the metric system, which I prefer. And then you go through this whole thing. And I'm just going to keep the measurements stock right now. So this is saying 181.884 centimeters, which is basically about 6 feet tall. So 182 centimeters is basically 6 feet. So we're going to go next. So that gives you your height. Then we're going to go next. And you're going to pick your gender. So you can go either male or female. It doesn't matter, but it does want one or the other. So whatever you're doing, you pick the appropriate gender for you, and then we go and click next. So our first measurement is the chest circumference. Since I'm picking the male, we're only going to have one measurement here. If you pick female, then you're going to get bust and under bust. And then you input your measurement. So you're going to use, a seamstress tape, a flexible tape measure, not a construction tape measure, but something that's made out of, cloth or something like that you would find in the sewing department at Walmart or Joann Fabrics or something similar. So it's basically a seamstress tape. You wrap it around your body, you take the measurement. And, for the most part, ArmorSmith's measurement points are really good. There's only one where I have had issues, and I'll show you what that is and what my workaround for it is. So once you got that input, you click next, and you just go through all of these. So we're just going to keep the generic measurements. Okay, wait, let me go back. This is the one that causes problems. It's very easy, based on this picture, to over-measure this area. If you do, your shoulders will stick out like you're some kind of a mutant linebacker. And if you did that, don't panic. You don't have to recreate your avatar from scratch. You basically just go down here into this panel and you're going to edit it. But there's some caveats with that as well, and we'll go over those in a minute. So, so you keep inputting all these measurements, go through all of them. And you can just do them as you go. What's great is this panel will stay up as long as you need it to. It doesn't have any kind of a timer on it. So if you got to sit and take all your measurements while you're going through this, it's really easy. So we just go through, do the last ones. We've got the head and then the foot, and I think that's it. So we're all done. And now we've got an avatar. So depending on what your measurements are, your avatar will not look like this. This is an idealized male, apparently. Mine doesn't look like this. Mine is a bit more rounder in the middle here, so it does look strange. And don't worry about that, because this is more about creating the correct volumes, all right, for the different pieces of armor that you want to put on. Okay, so let's say you've got your avatar, and you're ready to start sizing your armor. How do you do that? All right, well, oh, cool. Hey, welcome in, Thomas Gross. Glad you made it. And Caleb Williams. Hey, awesome. Nice to see you guys. Thanks for joining. Hope you guys are having a great day. We are talking about ArmorSmith. I'm hoping Ryan Nites comes in because he was having some scaling questions, but I know a lot of people are. So we're going to talk all about scaling today. And right now it's about scaling your armor using this amazing program called ArmorSmith, which when I bought it, it was about $30. It's really, really good stuff. It's specifically made for cosplayers. What's great about it is if you're doing 3D printing and you're bringing in 3D printed stuff, it's perfect for that. But if you also do paper craft or pepakura type stuff or foam, you can also generate patterns in this program from armor. Now, I don't think you can do it with STLs because you'd have to do STLs that are very simplified, because generating patterns tends to require much simpler models. But I don't do a lot of that, so I can't really speak to it very much. I measure from where the back of the shoulders meet the back for that back measurement. That's definitely one way to do it. I do it from the front, like going from where my arm bends in the front all the way across to where the arm bends on the other. So I just bring it around to the front, and then I get that measurement that way, and that actually works really well too. So whatever way you have to do it, but that's just the one measurement you got to watch out for, because on his graphic it's kind of misleading because it looks like he's going out to the edges of his shoulders, and that's way past the joint, and that's going to give you very strange anatomy in the shoulder department. You're welcome, Thomas. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of all this, is to try and, answer as many questions as we can, try to come up with solutions when we have problems, and, that's the whole reason why we started this DIY Facebook group. So yeah, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you appreciate it. Thanks for saying that. So so let's start bringing in some armor. Let's start with, now the armor I bring in is probably going to have custom supports on it. And first, let's address that. Let's say you want to measure some armor, but you bought some armor from me and it's got custom supports. What do? Well, I'll show you. Let's import something. Let's see. Let's bring in I just did a chest plate and a collar plate. So let's do a collar first, and we'll bring in the small because that is the standard size. So what I'm going to do, I've already separated these parts out, but let's say you just brought it in, okay, and it's one piece. So I'm going to combine this back. Now this is Simplify 3D and Cura and Prusa Slicer, and now Orca, which is the new darling of the free slicer crowd, and it is really nice. I'm actually going to probably start using that exclusively here very soon. They have similar functions. In Simplify 3D, it's separate connected surfaces. In those programs, it's separate to parts or separate to objects, and those are different, and I have a video addressing that, so you may want to go and reference that on the YouTube channel. There is a video that talks about that specifically, and all the different slicers and how it works. So go check that out. So you'd want to separate your parts, and now you're going to have, in orange, here's the model. This is what we want to keep, and then this is what we want to get rid of. So we're going to just delete this, and this is what you would do in one of your other slicers too, and then we're going to export this. We're going to export it as an ASCII STL, or even an OB. We can just bring it in as an OBJ. Let's do it as an OBJ, because the ASCII STLs, for some reason, when they're exported out of this program, they're very large files. So let's just create a blank folder. I'll call this ArmorSmith demo. So let's call this the V10 collar. We're going to get rid of CS because it no longer has custom supports. And we're going to go ahead and bring this into ArmorSmith. All right, so let's go ahead and import. And ArmorSmith imports most of the normal file sizes, including ADO, PDO, OBJ, and STL. Okay, so 4 types. So these might be paper model files. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to select, as you can see, I was experimenting with Gunny Greaves earlier. So let's go back out to that folder that I was just in. That's not it. Here we go. ArmorSmith. Alright, open. Okay, so now as you can see, here's our collar plate, and unfortunately you can't really rotate the view here, but you do see it. So, you can also import from over here. So if I wanted to import something else, let's go ahead and make a chest plate. And you only need one, and I'll show you why. So let's just import another model. Because we're not going to save this. Let's go to here, blends, armor, male, master STL, small. Some upgrades. Where's my collar plate? That's not it. Oh, here we go. We want the V10 full collar. This one. Oh, no, not the collar plate. We already just did that. Duh. We want chest plate. All right, let's go. Oh, why is it going back here? No, that's a factory file. Okay, we want to import a model. Sorry about that. I know I'm totally dragging ass here. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and get the right model. We want chest plates, and they're not in this folder. They're in here. 2022 updates again. And here we go. All right, so let's bring in this one. Actually, bring in this one. Oh, look at this. We don't have the custom supports. Okay, cool. So let's just go ahead and bring that into here. All right. I should have just put that into this folder, but I know where it is. Lens armor rail. Here we go. This one, open. And again, we could have done that from over here. Probably should have. I'm used to always doing everything from the right. Let's catch up on the chat. We're caught up. Wow, quiet morning today. All right, so we've got 2 pieces of armor here. Now what do we do? Okay, well here's a really cool thing. So you've got your avatar, right? So you're going to select your piece of armor, and you're going to go down here to attach. And you'll see it brings up all of these little cog wheels all over the model. So there isn't one really for the collar plate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just attach it to the neck. All right. So here we go. Now it looks really strange, right? It's all in the wrong place. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab one of our manipulators. So we've got these manipulators here. We've got a moving manipulator, which is this, which is interesting because he put the squares on the end of it, which is typically for scaling. But and then on the scale, he's got. Let's see, why isn't it scaling? Oh, you got to select uniform. Okay, so with scaling, he's got something completely different. He's got a box. So we're going to go back to the rotational manipulator, and we're going to rotate this. Why does it keep going away? Okay, there we go. So we're going to flip this upside down, and it looks like we're pretty close. I'm not sure if he has orthographic views. Oh, he does. So we can get a front view camera, and it is... oh, no, that's if you want to take a picture of it. So does he have an orthographic view? An orthographic view is kind of like a blueprint view. It's very flat. It takes all the perspective out and gives you a much more accurate picture. So I'm not seeing an orthographic mode. There may be one. Does anybody know if there's an orthographic mode in here? I'm going to go ahead and just leave this like this. This is going to probably be as close as we need to get. So we rotated this into position, and now we're going to move it. I don't know why we're getting... I want world coordinates here, buddy, not local. So do we have world coordinates? Where's the coordinate system? Okay, so in 3D, there are 2 types of coordinate systems. There may actually even be more, but the 2 that you're going to be the most concerned with are world coordinates and local coordinates. Right now, this thing is looking at local coordinates. So it's basing all of its positional information off of the original orientation of the model. And since we rotated it, now it is seeing it as rotated, and we can't just move it straight up and down. So we want world coordinates for that. And I'm trying to see if we've got a way to do that. There should be. He used to have one. I seem to remember him having one. Transforms. Let's open up this transforms panel. That doesn't seem to do anything. Oh, here we go. Okay, right over here in this panel. Transform mode, local, and world. And now you can see our manipulator has changed to straight up and down world coordinates. All right. So we're going to go ahead and move this down to where it kind of needs to go. And always allow for clothing, okay? Always allow for clothing. You're going to figure, anywhere from, a couple of millimeters out to maybe even 3/4 of an inch, depending on how much, like if you've got a very well padded flak vest, that's going to be important. That's going to add to your torso mass, okay? Your torso volume, I should say. So let's go ahead and position this where it needs to go. And I always like the top edge to be kind of lined up with the middle of the shoulders, just above the pecs. And then we'll go ahead, and it actually looks like that size is pretty good. But, well, actually, it might actually be a little, no, it seems okay. It's right where the arm bends, which is probably good. But if you wanted to scale it in, let's say this guy's shoulders, because we kind of went off of his stock measurements. Let's say we want to do a non-uniform scale, okay? So we'll go up here to the scale manipulator, and we'll select non-uniform, okay? And again, why are we in local mode? I don't know. Let's try this. Let's go to freeform and see what that does. Yeah, this is strange. I don't want to scale it like that. Okay. Well, we know that, okay, so here's how we can kind of reverse engineer this, and we can modify further in our slicing program. So let's say we like the size of this, and we really haven't scaled it at all yet. This is the stock size, but let's just for fun, let's go ahead and do a uniform scale. Hello, uniform, hello. Okay, for some reason the tool isn't updating. I don't know why. Okay, there it is. We're going to go to uniform. Okay, so this is the box. It's still seeing itself in, it's seeming like it's seeing itself in a local type situation, but maybe it's not. So I guess what you do is you just drag on it. Okay, yeah, you just hover over it with your mouse and you'll get this cross, and then you can just drag over it. So if you want to make it a little bit smaller, then you can do that. If you want to make it bigger, then you do that. And there should be a way to scale it in just one dimension. So here's what I would recommend. When we had this collar plate open in Simplify 3D, we have it at a very strange orientation. We've got it rotated straight up and down, and let's hide this, or just delete it actually. What you might want to do is pre-position your STLs before you bring them into ArmorSmith. Don't change their scale yet, just pre-position them so they're more into the correct orientation that you want. And we can verify this by just looking down and kind of lining up with this grid here. Let's get that again because it's moving around. Why are we moving around? There we go. Okay, so that looks pretty good right there. And then we're going to rotate this thing from the side so it's more in line with what it should be. And then I think we need to flip it around 180 degrees. So we'll go ahead and re-export this. And we'll re-export it as an OBJ. Go back into blends. Where's my customs? Oh, I guess that's out here. Customs. Alright, and we'll resave it. And now what we'll do is we'll open ArmorSmith back up. And we're going to go ahead and select this, and we're going to delete it. And then we're going to re-import it again. This time we'll use the import button. And we'll go back to our folder that we need to be in. That's not it. Alright, here we go. Alright, so we got this again. This should be more in the correct position this time, I hope. Sometimes when you export things as an OBJ, in fact, let's try that. Let's export this thing as an STL and see what happens, see if there's a difference in the orientation of the model that's exported. Export as STL. Alright, we're in the same thing, so we'll get rid of the QC and CS because we don't need that. It's the Smalls collar plate. Alright, so let's import that. Here's the STL. We can kind of get a sense of its orientation too by the picture. Okay, so the STL will come in the correct orientation. With OBJs, a lot of times the orientation gets flipped. So, yes, unclick uniform scale. Might be good to simply take your measurements while wearing your... Yes, it absolutely would be a good idea. In fact, I mean, if you can put on all your soft parts and then take your measurements, and even then, I would give yourself a little extra room. So, I mean, because here's the thing that people may not take into account. If you're measuring gauntlets, okay, don't just consider the fact that you've got your arm in there with a sleeve and possibly a glove. Also consider the possibility that you may want to stick some electronics in there with some battery packs. So that's, or, you know, a circuit board or something. So you might want to give yourself an extra, just a little bit extra room than you normally would. I mean, going up 1 or 2% over the actual size of something is not too significant. It's not super huge. Let's go ahead and bring this collar in, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. We want to attach it to right here. Okay, so having things in a proper orientation definitely helps. Let's move this down, and we'll move it to about right there, and then we'll pull this out, And it looks like it still needs to rotate a little bit. That's cool. Let's rotate it. And see, this way you can get everything kind of positioned where it's going to go. And this is really cool too for being able to kind of get a sense of what your armor is going to look like when it's all on. And that's really fun when you've got it all sized correctly. And because then you can decide if you need to make any adjustments before you start printing it. So yeah, we definitely need to size in this way. So now because we've got a better orientation, we're going to go ahead and do a non-uniform scale, and we're going to scale just in this way a little bit. Why are we scaling that way? I thought I said non-uniform, bro. Let's undo that. Let's try this again. Non-uniform. Oh, we still have uniform scale checked over here. So let's go ahead and change the scale over here. Now I believe that this is X. Let's see. What are your measurements here? X is usually red. X is usually this way, left and right. Y is usually front to back, and Z is usually up and down because Z stands for zenith. But sometimes it's different. It looks like his coordinate system is a little different, but I can't be sure. Let's see. So you can generally add these numbers in, but I'm not seeing any change on the scale over here. So let's just go crazy and make it 120. Okay, so that did change. So his Z is front to back. All right, so that's important. Z is usually blue, Y is usually green. So Y, we want to keep that at 100%. We want to keep Z at 100%. Yeah, the coordinate system thing can take a little while. So we actually want to make it skinnier on this. Let's try 90. Okay, that's probably too skinny. But you see what we can do here. So this is where you can really have some fun and kind of play around. So what I do for clothing allowance is I'll just lift the thing off the body a little bit. All right, and we'll adjust the rotation a little bit here. So it kind of looks like it's floating over the body. I think we can bring the X scale out just a little bit. So let's go to 95 and see how that looks. That's not bad. I like 95. We could even bring it in a little bit more, but I don't want to go crazy. I don't want the collar plate to shrink. So let's just pull this up and back just a little bit. And now let's bring the chest plate in. So the collar plate is always preferential with regard to like where your arm bend is. So that's always the kind of the key thing right there. Let's go ahead and bring in this chest plate, which it does appear to be in the correct orientation. So let's go ahead and put it right here on this front cog. And now remember, this is the stock size of the chest plate. We haven't done any scaling to it at all. It actually looks like it's a little big. So yeah. Again, I like to just kind of float it over the top of the body. And see, here's where you can make some other adjustments too. So like you want your collar plate to kind of line up with the top of your chest plate. So, okay, I don't think we need to do anything to this chest plate just yet. If anything, it may be too wide, so we might want to scale it on X. I'm going to see if I can, there's supposedly a way to copy this. Yeah, let's see if we can copy, and if we can paste. No, that did not work. So I thought there was a way to mirror something, or bring it in. Alright, so I guess we'll just have to bring the left chest plate in then too. So let's go ahead and get that. We'll do it from here. Right. We need to go to MakerBait. Lens, armor, mail. Alright, so let's get the left side. I called this Wrath chest because I actually rescaled it for it was a custom scale, custom size. And I liked the new size so much that I kept it. And so to differentiate it from the previous versions, I called it Wrath. The person's name wasn't Wrath, but you know what I'm saying. Alright, so let's, oh no, did I just delete that? Let's undo. Can we undo that, please? Oh, you don't undo deletes? Wow. Okay, let's import that again. Sorry about that. Okay, we want the left open. And now we're going to attach. So again, we go right here, and we're going to go ahead and move it into position. And we'll kind of just line it up here in the center. And yeah, you can definitely see that this is too big. If we go to the front view here, front. Yeah, see, I wish we could get an orthographic view. I wonder if there's a way to do that. We're in the workspace. Let's see if there is no orthographic view that I can see. This is for taking a snapshot of what you're making. So we're going to just have to eyeball this. An orthographic view would be much more helpful, but apparently we don't have one. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, and we've got uniform scale turned off, so we're going to go 95% on the X, and we're going to just make this a little narrower, and we're going to do the same thing over here, and we're going to see how that works. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're still in move mode. We want to kind of line up with the center of the collar plate here, so I think we may need to, actually that's looking pretty good. Let's see what we got. Now this thing is pretty accurate, but it's not 100% accurate. It's not you, okay? It is a representation of you. So I always think it's better to err on the side of caution and maybe make things just slightly bigger than you think they should be, or than what ArmorSmith is telling you. I mean, 1 or 2% can make all the difference, and it really doesn't make the part that much bigger. Okay, I mean, believe it or not, like a 5%, I do a 5% difference in size between my different stock sizes. So a small is 100%, medium is 105, large is 110, extra large is 115. So let's just see. Like if I wanted to do a uniform scale on this item right here and take it up to, let's just go 115. Actually, no, let's go 105. Let's just see what going from small to medium looks like. Okay, see, that's not that much bigger. So if you just went like 102, it's only slightly bigger. Very slight difference. And you can always adjust the different dimensions independently if you want to. So that's just something to keep in mind. I think it's always a good idea just to give yourself a little wiggle room, you know? I mean, you're going to be wearing this stuff. It's always nice to think of things as being form-fitting, but in the real world, you have to walk around in it, you have to bend over, you have to do all kinds of things, and if it's designed correctly to you, like completely custom, you're probably going to be able to do that. But if you're getting something off the shelf, even a custom size thing is going to have some, it might have some issues. So I actually think we might need to go a little bit smaller in the X. So I'm going to go 90. Nope. That was a uniform scale. Let's turn that off. Let's just go 90%. So uniform scale scales all the dimensions. Non-uniform lets you customize the scale. So let's go ahead and do this one. This might be too much. Let's move that over. Get this more lined up with the center. Okay, that's not looking too bad right there. I think this could come over just a wee bit more. Alright, so that's not looking bad. So that's how you kind of scale your armor in ArmorSmith. Once you have what you want, you can take a picture of it. You can get like a totally epic pose with all your stuff. And then you're going to go, let's see, do we have an export button over there? No, we don't. So we have an export. We can export this model, and this should bring us, you want to create a special folder for all your exported parts. Alright, here we go. I get to see all my files. Here we go. Where are we going? We are going to the shortcut. Alright, let's go to customs. And we'll say this is exported. We'll call that exported. And we'll go ahead and say save. And that's going to save out an STL of your rescaled model. And we'll compare the two so you can see that it actually worked. How are we doing? How does this amount of scaling play with chest plate displays? Good question, Caleb. It is going to definitely change it. So that's something to keep in mind. I do make a Katso ready plate, or a plate that's actually ready for a Boba Fett display, because I think the one from some of the other vendors, the ones from the other vendors will probably fit in there as well. However, in that situation, you're going to want to scale up, okay, depending on how tight the fit is. You might have a little bit of wiggle room. What I would do before you scale anything is figure out a way, either by bringing this into your slicing program, and I'll show you what I mean here in a second. Okay, let's bring that chest plate back in again. Let's go ahead and bring that back in, or actually no, we're going to re-import it. So we're going to go back in here, and we'll talk about it. I'm actually going to bring in no, I'm in totally the wrong folder. I have too many folders. Okay, we want to go to Master STL, Small. Oh no, you know what? We need to go into this folder here. Where are we? Here we go. Boba display. Why is it not there? What? That's not in there. Okay, let's go back into here. Okay, so somehow these are my stock plates. They are here. I have them. I think they are in new stuff, but I have to. Let me check Maker's Models really quick. No, they're not in there. So okay, let me see if I can find the best way to explain this. No, why isn't it showing up? Did I not export? I know I exported these. I know I did. Okay, I know what I'm going to do. I know exactly what I'm going to do. Haha. Because I know I printed these, so I know that I have them. So let's do a small chest. Okay, here's a small left. I call it a Katso because it was designed around the Katso props display. So all my different sizes of this chest plate have the same size opening in the front and the back. I'm going to clear everything off. So here's what you want to do to be sure about how to scale this thing, because you can scale in your slicer too. So you could use ArmorSmith if you wanted to get a good baseline scale. So let's remove all the supports. Let's delete the custom supports, and we got to just make sure we don't save this file. So all I want to do is I want to rotate this thing down so the opening is, kind of lined up with the floor, or the build plate, I should say. Let's go the other way. Where's the top? Hello, thank you. Okay, so we're going to line this up, and this way, this grid on this plate is each square is 5 millimeters. Okay, I don't know if you can set up units in your slicer to be either imperial or metric. Perhaps you can. Again, I prefer the metric system. So all I got to do to kind of get an idea of how big this thing needs to be is to count the squares. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we're looking at about 55 millimeters right there. All right. So let's say we wanted to scale this thing up, like let's scale it down and see how much that is. So we go over here. We'll scale it down to, again, we're on uniform scale. Let's go 98%. Okay, and let's see what we lost. Doesn't look like much. So it looks like we lost about 1 to 2 millimeters off the dimension, and I think I actually provided a little bit of wiggle room in these. So a lot of it's going to depend on who made the plate, but scaling will definitely influence it. Now if you go bigger, it's not going to be as much of an issue, but again, it can be, because, for instance, the Katso plate, or the Katso prop is all, everything's attached to one board. Okay, so this display and this display are attached to one circuit board. So you can't change the distance between these two parts. All right. So now some of the other makers do have these things separated on their own boards, which gives you a little bit more flexibility, I think. Katso, I think, was one of the first to put these out, and so, I could be wrong about that. I just bought his, so honestly, I really don't know. But yeah, scaling will definitely impact this, okay? So hopefully that helps. You could also, just scale. Maybe you want to make it shorter, or the plate shorter or taller. You can scale. So here's something to keep in mind. Let's undo all the scaling that we did. How does the position of the model affect scaling in your slicer? Okay, I'm going to show you. Again, we've got this coordinate system. Blue is usually Z, green is Y, which is front to back generally, and then X is left to right, okay, along a flat plane. These are all flat planes. So if we turn off uniform scaling and we scale in Z, okay, let's take the Z down to, let's just take it down to 80%, just so we can kind of get a really exaggerated. Okay, so it's pulling everything down, but because the plate is kind of rotated back a little bit, it's going to kind of distort that measurement or that scale a little bit. So what you want to do is, if you're planning on scaling along a particular axis, okay, let's say you want to make this plate a little shorter on Z. So let's go ahead and rotate it using the manipulators and get it as straight up and down as possible. And now we'll scale it to 80%. Okay, and you can see that that's a much cleaner, everything's kind of pulled together, correctly. It didn't do this weird diagonal thing like it was before. So the orientation of your part when you're scaling in your slicer is really important. A lot of people have asked me about the gauntlets. Let's bring those in. Let's bring in a gauntlet. Okay. Let's just go ahead and import a model. You know what? I'm going to make a whole new scene here because I'm afraid I'm going to save over something. So I'm just going to add a process here so we get the right build dimensions. This is for my artillery. So let's go ahead and bring in the pauldron, or the gauntlets. Blends, AV gauntlets, production, STL, Gen 3. Let's bring in the left gauntlet. Okay, so we go under chassis here. I have them with supports and without. So let's go ahead and bring in the top and the bottom. And they're basically ready to go. And we can kind of do sort of a loose assembly. And let's say this is cool. So if you want to put these together in here, I'm going to show you how to turn this into one model so you can bring it into ArmorSmith to scale it, to get it scaled for you. Okay, so kind of line them up. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it should be as close as you can get it. Get everything lined up. You got lots of different views you can look at. All right, so we've got that where we want it. Let's go ahead and select both pieces, and we're going to go up here to mesh. Now I think you can do this in the other slicers too, though this function I have not explored as much. I know it's not the same as grouping, so grouping is not going to be the solution. You want to combine these into one model. Okay, so we're going to go combine selected models, and then we're going to export, and we're going to do this as an OBJ. Let's go ahead and go back to where we need to be, customs, ArmorSmith, exported, and we'll just save that. And now we'll go back to ArmorSmith, and we'll bring it in. And I'm going to show you two different methodologies here. So first we'll import this. Let's see. Where did we put this? Oh, did we put it in exported? No. Where's the chassis that I just imported? Oh, I don't think we're in the right. No, we are. Did I not save that to the right spot? Or is it not finished yet? Oh, you know what? It may not be finished exporting this. It says it exported it, but let's see where it exported it. ArmorSmith demo. Oh, I did put it in exported. Okay, well, let's put it back in here and make sure it's done. Okay, it does take a moment to export the model when you're doing this. Okay, so now it's done. So let's go ahead and import it, and here it is. Okay, let's open that up. And then we're going to attach it. Did we finish importing? Okay, so we're going to select this little cog here. And yeah, now we want to kind of be in local, I think, because here's where local is really helpful. Because we want to stay with the orientation of the arm here. So now you can see our rotational manipulator is lined up with the arm. So this is where local is really helpful. All right. Now you can see the gauntlets for this particular character are way too big. All right. That's interesting too, but not, yeah, because you don't really want to go out over the hand too much. We can move just a little bit. And the way to check this is don't necessarily look at this coming out here, because like I said, these are just volumes, and you're probably not going to want to scale this thing too much in any one particular direction, but you can. You could go out to 110% on these, and I would recommend only doing that on the X and Y. In fact, let's do that right now. We've got uniform scale turned off, so in this case we're going to scale along X and Z, and we're going to leave Y alone. So let's go to 110. Why is that scaling that? Oh, because we scaled Y. Yeah, this coordinate system is not standard. Okay, so let's go 110 on X, and we're going to go 110 on Z. All right, so that increased. So now we've got a little bit more room here. These volumes are not 100% accurate, but that's how you can kind of check. I think that's a little big, but maybe not, you know. It's, you know, if you wanted to make it shorter, then we'd make it shorter on Y in this case. So let's go 90%. Now this is going to have a big impact on all your other pieces that get fit in here. All have to be scaled the same way. You got to use exactly the same scale methodology, but I'm going to show you how to do it in Simplify 3D. So let's say you got your gauntlet where you want it, okay? So we know we had to scale this way and this way. We went 110%, so we're going to scale. This time we're going to scale on X and Z again. So we're going to go 100 or 110, and then we're going to go 110 down here. Okay. No, that should be 110. Come on. 110. Okay. So, that shouldn't have made it longer. Let's put this, I want to put this back to 100 just to make sure. Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, that's because we're scaling on Y. Duh. I keep doing that. Okay, there we go. So now we've scaled out on X and Y. So if you bring in one of the components that goes in here, like let's bring in the keypad, all right? So how do we make sure the keypad fits correctly? We're going to go, boy, I keep having to jump around all these different folders. We're in the left. Let's go to details. This is going to be the keypad, okay? All right, so there's the keypad. Lucky us, the keypad is already basically in the correct orientation. So all we have to do to make sure that it fits correctly is apply the same scaling to it. So we're going to need to scale on the Y. Let's see what we did here. We went 110 on X, 110 on Z, and 100% on Y. So we're not going to do anything to Y. We're going to make sure uniform scaling is turned off. We're going to go 110 on X and 110 on Z. Okay, so now this thing should fit perfectly. Did I do 110? Yes, I did. Okay. And let's bring it up. Did it change scale? Yeah, it did, I think. Do I have to go 120 or something? That's the Z measurement. Wait, what? No, not 102, 120. Okay, so that is too big. So let's go back to 110. And that should be correct. I know I made some allowance for parts to fit together correctly. Oh, and this isn't rotated and everything. It's not lined up with the parts. So generally, yes, you want to scale all your pieces in the same orientation Yeah, see, now that we've rotated it, fits really good. So the pieces that go in here, you want to do the same thing. You want to rotate them so they are oriented correctly, so that when you scale them, they're going to be the right size. So that's something to keep in mind. You're welcome, Caleb. I'm glad you're getting something out of it. That's great. Yeah, so a lot of people have asked me about the rod that goes into the gauntlets. The base gauntlet, when I first built these, the reason why you can scale them up to 110% is because that's how big they were when I first made them. And I realized that's probably going to be way too big for most people. So I scaled them down. I thought the length was good though. All right, but you can shorten them. But the original was scaled around 2mm rod, and I actually made the hole. I think the hole was like 2.4 or even 2.5 millimeters. So it was a little bit generous, you know. And so when you scale these down 110%, you're really not going to be making the hole that much smaller. And now I have already tested this with the stainless steel rod at standard size. In fact, that's the reason why these are called Gen 3 90s, because they're 90% of what I originally built them. The 2mm rod will fit. Now, if you go smaller, there are other options available. There is welding wire, which you can get generally if you go in the hardware store. In the places where they sell screws and nuts and bolts and fasteners and other kinds of things like that, they'll have a bunch of drawers and stuff. But you know, in some place in that department, they're going to have a place where they have metal stock. Now, what I love about Ace Hardware is they sell K&S metals, which are like the hobby metals, the hobby brass, so you can get really cool like brass tubes and, you know, in square and round, and I just love that stuff. But sometimes it's hard to find, but if I need it in a pinch, instead of having to order it on Amazon and wait a day, which I'm not complaining about, you know, I can go get it today. So, and hopefully they have it. There's like 3 Ace Hardwares here in town, so one of them is going to have it. So anyway, you can get this wire. They have this wire. It's called welding wire, and it will fit in there as well, and you can bend it and do all the same things and use it as a hinge pin. So if you go really small, if you went like, you know, 90%, you know, if you went a 10% reduction, you should be able to utilize one of those things with no problem. In fact, I just made my wife's gauntlets, which are custom sized, and they're about 90% of this size here, and I used the welding wire for her, and it worked great. So it doesn't affect the functionality. Now, where you're going to have issues, your screw holes are going to get smaller. Bigger screw holes are generally not a problem. Bigger threaded insert holes may not be a problem, but you have to take a little more care with the installation of the threaded inserts because the socket's going to be a little bit bigger. All right, so you may want to use something like JB Weld to create sort of a padding around the part, around the threaded insert, so when you set it in, you'll be able to make sure it's aligned correctly and your screw is going to go in straight. I usually leave the screw in when I'm installing the threaded insert, and I kind of look at the part from the side from different angles to make sure that the screw is orientated correctly. I mean, oriented, not orientated. It's an orientated facade. Yeah, one of those words that I said wrong a long time ago, and it's now a joke. Orientated. There's no taters in there. All right, so anyway, I digress. So yeah, that's scaling in a nutshell. Is there any other questions? You guys have any other questions about this? If you want, I can do another video on this. But yeah, what you would do in ArmorSmith is if you got the size you want, you don't have to necessarily export it out of here. In fact, I wouldn't, because it's going to export in this orientation, and you don't want that. That's just a total hassle. So what you would want to do is just take the scale information and scale it accordingly in your slicing program. Okay, so and that's what we've done here. And you want to always go along, like if you want to make it wider, because you could scale in this orientation too. You could have scaled like this. Let's put everything back to where it was. Let's go 100 and 100. You can also scale in this orientation, but basically you want to be aligned with one of the axes in the slicer's coordinate system. Okay, so let's rotate this thing up like this. Okay, so now we're straight up and down. So if we wanted to do the same scaling this time, we're going to scale on X and Y. All right, we're going to leave Z alone. So because our primary dominant orientation is up and down. So we're going to go ahead and turn off uniform scaling, and we're going to scale in X and Y. So we'll go 110. Whoop. I can type. And then we'll go down here and we'll go 110. Not 100, 110. Thank you. And you can see it did exactly what we wanted to. It didn't change the height. It only changed the width. Okay? So now what's going to happen to all your things? Going bigger is generally not a problem, especially if you're only going up by a couple of percent. Obviously, the bigger you go, the more deviations you're going to have with regard to any hardware you're going to use. Going smaller is generally the problem. You can go a little smaller and probably get away with it. What I would do, if you aren't sure if something's going to fit right, scale the part the way you want it. And in this case, let's just go ahead and separate connected surfaces now. Let's get rid of the keypad, because we don't need that here. What I would do is I would just get rid of half the model, and I'm going to get rid of the bottom half because the top half has the bigger hinge hole. So let's go ahead and scale this thing down to, let's take it down to, let's just go crazy and go 90%. Okay? And I guess we're going to have to do that on all of these here because everything's changing. Now, if you're doing a uniform scale, then you can just scale all your other parts the same way. But again, you want to kind of line everything up with an axial orientation. Line it up with one of the axes. It could be X, it could be Y, it could be Z. It doesn't matter. As long as, think in terms of right angles, okay, when you're scaling stuff. Don't scale something that's, you know, sitting at some cockeyed angle like this, okay, because that's just not going to work right. I mean, it will scale, and it will scale uniformly, but it's still got a better chance of being off. So let's see, the only thing we really need here, in this particular instance, is maybe this hinge, okay? So we can kind of figure out what size hinge we're going to need. Well, just pull this thing down below the build plate. Now, I know some slicers will not allow you to do that, so what you do instead is you use their cut utility, and you can just cut the model right here and get rid of the part you don't need. And this way you can just print this section right here, okay? And then you'll have this tube. This will take probably, I don't know, 20 minutes to print, maybe a half hour, instead of, 22 hours or whatever it is to find out you got the wrong size. So if you're sure about the size, that's cool. Another thing you can do too is, like, if you wanted to check the circumference around your arm, just print the very bottom and the very top, okay? So it's like you don't have to print this whole thing. Just print this part, all right? Just print this much of it and put it around your arm where you want it to go. Print this much, like bring this thing down and just print the front end and see if it fits. And you can do the same thing with the bottom half. So you can kind of put the thing around you put it around your arm and kind of check it to see if it's going to fit. And this way you're less prone to make a thing that isn't going to be usable, because you can check the size by just doing partial printing. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. And you know what? I don't think I have anything else to say about this. If you guys have questions, go ahead and you can always continue to ask them in the group. That's fine. But we'll do another stream about this if there's more interest. And maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll look at this on Forge Friday some more too. So if there's a lot of questions about it, then yeah, we'll do it on Forge Friday. But I kind of want to keep the stuff that I'm doing on the Facebook group for you guys, okay, and not necessarily for Forge Friday, because Forge Friday is a little more open-ended. So, I want to keep this special, where you guys are getting, more access and more information that isn't coming out on Forge Friday. Though there will be a little bit of crossover here and there. I am cognizant of it. I'm trying to be aware of it. And, I want you guys to get, some special treatment, so to speak. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I'm going to say thanks so much for watching. If you want to know more about me and what I do and how I do it, click on my link tree on my page, and you will see anywhere you can find me, including Amazon, my social medias, if you haven't signed up and you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't signed up for my Facebook group, do it, because you will get my free 3D print perfection guide plus a free 3D model for printing. And join my email list, and that's it. So anyway, just wanted to say thanks again for watching. I really appreciate all of you. You guys, this is the way, Caleb. You're right. Yes, cool, awesome. I'm really glad that helped you, man. It made the time worth it for me that I helped somebody, and that's awesome. So great. And Caleb, if you've got any other questions, man, you can always hit me up on Facebook, and I will try to answer you within 24 hours, okay? So sometimes I just get busy and I can't be on the book face all day, but I make a point of sitting down in the morning, every morning, and just showing whatever, answering any questions, commenting on stuff when people comment on my stuff. So I try to be interactive, and I'm going to try to do